So we have our panel assembled up here with SRP, EPCOR, Arizona Water. Back to the purple there. There was a lot of questions. If that 11,000 acres happened, there's no possible way you could get electric and water out there. But Arizona Water stepped forward because they can also do sewer too. They were going to create a whole sewer system out there, and they can explain that. Now, when these people say, yes, there's no water for these groundwater, the wells, you're right. There's not enough groundwater out here, but we're not talking groundwater. And that's what we can send a message on that we're not just going to continue just sucking it out of the ground, but it's actually going to help with recharging too. So, Connie, I didn't, the list of possible questions, do we want to have just questions from, what would you like to hear? Let's just start with SRP and your capabilities, and no APS in this area. We're so glad to have SRP out here.
It's all SRP. It's been interesting because I didn't think super systems vistas would have happened in my career at all. So the state land department really figured out a formula on how to release some sites for large industrial users. And now all of a sudden, as you mentioned, Queen Creek is seeing a lot of action. I'm in Queen Creek a lot more than I have ever been. And because of that, the state has really seen that these large users want contiguous parcels with one owner, and it really makes it easy to come to state land. And so that has been something that it's relatively new for most of us in economic development, because it wasn't an option before, and now it is. So having that as an ability is almost an extra economic development tool for us. And so clients now are starting to hear about what we've been able to do. The TSMC up in North Phoenix really helped open the door for that. And so we're getting more looks that we probably would never have gotten. So discussing if there's power, water, and sewer in the area is something that we're now having to talk a lot about. I mean, it's a large acreage that we're talking that doesn't have a lot of infrastructure right now because most of it's state land. We do have some infrastructure in the area, and so luckily for a lot of the large clients that are coming in, we were able to figure out solutions to serve them. But moving into the future, how are we going to serve them, and watching the new infrastructure coming forward. So we're following the north-south freeway, the north-south freeway, State Route 24. For us, those are key components in how can we co-locate some of our infrastructure with that infrastructure, since a lot of the users are going to want to be near those. So a lot of it is watching and seeing what's going to happen with those infrastructure pieces, but some of these larger clients are going to be driving that dialogue.
Okay. So she mentioned several things. Lisa Atkins from State Land couldn't make it this time, but they're still involved. They're here, they're monitoring this, as is GPEC, ACA, a lot of the big players from Phoenix. So there's that blue there, this big cross, this is the 24, and then north-south cutting right through that. That's why it's so important. And Ray Road will come out eventually also. And then Mike, the Parkway down here as well. So those are all on the table. That's going to make that all inside to work. So EPCOR, if you don't know who EPCOR is, Johnson Utilities started out there. EPCOR is now taking that over and running it and doing a great job.
Thank you. Yeah, I guess just background. EPCOR has water and wastewater systems across 3 states in the Southwest. We're the largest private utility in the southwestern U.S. We're in Arizona, New Mexico, and Texas. We have systems up and down the Colorado River here in Arizona, across the West Valley, down toward Tucson. We have one system. And then most recently, we have picked up Johnson Utilities, and in turning the page and looking to the future, we've rebranded that as the Santan water system. So we have the ability to bring in infrastructure. We really partner with a lot of the local cities to help bring private capital in, to bring in both expanding water and wastewater systems. We have a long background of that across the states. In fact, in Texas, we have a wholesale partnership with the city of San Antonio. We have over multiple 100-mile-long pipelines that we run there. So we have the experience, we've got the background to be able to stand systems up from ground zero and provide that type of long-range planning and the infrastructure to bring in and provide these kinds of services. We're seeing lots of growth in the Santan Valley area. We anticipate that to continue. We're always looking for other opportunities, and we have a lot of experience in our West Valley systems, on our Agua Fria system. There's a lot of large industrial users coming in there, data centers, as well as food and beverage manufacturing facilities. So we're used to bringing on large clients as well as serving, your normal subdivision and neighborhoods. So,
Do you guys think can I ask some questions now while he's got the mic? So on here, how far to the north would EPCOR handle? And Queen Creek, you have your own sewer. So how much of this could end up being EPCOR?
So right now, being a private utility, we're regulated by the Arizona Corporation Commission, and they give us a service territory called a Certificate of Convenience and Necessity. So our CCNN, we have to have our acronyms, so our CCNN right now extends up to close and interfingers with the town of Queen Creek. We also extend south toward Florence. One of the other things that we have to deal with as a water utility is the Arizona Department of Water Resources. And one of their requirements before development can happen is the developers have to show a 100-year assured water supply. The way they regulate that is through the active management area. So it actually, the Phoenix AMA is on the northern portion here and extends actually out all the way past the mine and up into the superstitions there. On the south side of that, that's the Pinal Active Management Area. That's the AMA that's actually been experiencing some of the groundwater issues that you've heard about. On the Phoenix side here, that hasn't manifested itself yet. So there's still the ability to continue to grow and expand on that without having some of the issues that they're facing in the central and southern part of the county. So I don't know if I answered your question there quite
I
right,
think you did.
But we depending on the AMA, the exact place of growth, there's opportunity for us to expand the CCNN as well.
Especially when he says he's over there to Florence, because Florence could grow into that picture as well.
All right, thank you. With Arizona Water, give a little bit of a background similar to EPCOR here. So we are a privately regulated utility similar to EPCOR. We have over 20 different water systems throughout the entire state of Arizona. In terms of Pinal County, we provide water service in all but one of the districts there, and I have a personal interest because I live in the 5th district. So. Or in the one that we don't serve. Arizona Water Company's been in the area, and I apologize, but I'm more visual here, so I'm going to get up to the map.
Apache Junction.
In these areas here, we serve Apache Junction down into Gold Canyon, and we have our CCN that extends down the highway on either side all the way up into Superior. And then, as you mentioned, we're down in Casa Grande and Coolidge as well. Depending on the water system in this area, we've served for over 100 years in the area. So we've been around for a while, and we're not going anywhere. One item that you mentioned was what it would take to bring the utilities there, and I would say we're already there. In the purple area that you referenced there, one of the we've been in the area for several decades now with large diameter water mains and facilities.
You have a 15-inch or?
We have a 16-inch water main running pretty much smack dab through the middle of the purple area there. So between that, some of the things that you mentioned, groundwater supplies, surface water supplies, we're able to partner with the county and come up with a very quick and economical solution for serving both water and wastewater to a potential user like that.
So I'm going to interact, since Apache Junction water's not here. This is the D.R. Horton, 6,600 acres here. Apache Junction water will do that. and then I believe they'll have the rights to right here. But anything that happens on that side and down around would be Arizona water, and you're capable of handling all that, right? You have more than half of Apache Junction, and all of the northern part is Arizona water, and I believe the southern part is AJ water.
That's
And,
correct, and we're currently serving out here, as I mentioned, into Gold Canyon, some of the subdivisions out here, and ones that are beginning construction. We have our certificated area along either side of the highway here. Without crunching the numbers in terms of this area, we probably already have a certificated area for about a third of the area there for water purpose.
But if these manufacturers start coming here between you, Queen Creek, and Apache Junction, you could handle that, right? The same way with sewage and water. I mean, that is...
Absolutely. Just comes
Yeah.
down to the details, the exact location, but we have solutions regardless of the utility there. You also mentioned and wanted to elaborate on a little bit between, there's definitely needs to be a partnership here between water and wastewater solutions and being able to reuse the water for recharge purposes or effluent use.
Yes, talking about quality of life, why have we never had any urban lakes out here? I think that's finally on the table down in here with effluent water, which when you go see an urban lake, that's not fresh first-time use water. That's something that's, that they're just putting to good use, and everybody loves urban lakes too.
Yeah, and we're interested in being a partner with the county, the other utilities. Definitely state land here, as you mentioned. There's quite a bit of blue here. They need to be a key stakeholder at the table here. But I think we definitely have the opportunity to bring some of these.
Who does the water in Florence down here?
Yeah.
Florence has
Florence.
their own water.
Yeah.
Okay, and so when we we're building an apartment building and they say there's no water for it, you don't really want to scoff at them. I mean, we want to appreciate their concerns, but as you can see, it's way beyond that. We're capable of handling, and SRP is the difference between wiring a house and wiring a major like Apple Glass down there.
Exactly.
So what's the difference on that?
There's a bit of difference, but we actually already have 500 and 230 kVs in the area, and most of our clients either want to be. We have clients now that want to be served up at 230, but also the 69. So along the canal, we have some infrastructure that slightly has capacity on there that has been very attractive to clients that are coming in. So we do have infrastructure in the area that we're able to tap into and then expand, which makes a much easier case for some of these larger clients.
And also, for those that don't know, SRP's thinking 20, 30, 40, 50 years ahead up the Verde River with Bartlett Lake, right? It's filling up. They're filling up with sediment.
Correct.
Something has to be done. You guys have a plan for that.
We
What's
do.
going to happen up there?
We're actually in the feasibility study of seeing if we could raise the dam to add more capacity to hold more water in there. So
Just like what you did with
exactly.
Roosevelt.
And so we'd be retaining new sources, and so that would be allocated as appropriate. But yeah, so hopefully there's some additional money in the infrastructure bill that came through to help support that effort.
And that will help this whole area too, because that's over here on the east side. So a lot of people that think there's no water, they're not aware that that's coming. These questions are being asked and they're being answered, and so we want to get that broadcast out there. So.
And then one of the other things too, is obviously in southern Pinal, we have a lot of solar fields that are going in, and that is moving as we're switching our grid over from more of a coal-based to renewable. A lot of the infrastructure is coming from the south, and so that's an interesting component that the clients want too. They want to be near some of that infrastructure, so for them it's a benefit. A lot of them are asking to be 100% green and renewable.
While we're on that, the supervisors and we just approved 4 solar farms last month. Do you see more and more solar coming out here, and is that going to help the grid?
Yes, we actually have an RFP on the streets right now. It's supposed to close in January for an additional 400 megawatts of capacity, and a lot of it's for solar plus battery. Is probably going to be the winning component to that, but that's what the clients are asking for. Everybody wants to be 100% green, and so trying to figure out how to provide that solution. And there's capacity in the area, and we're trying to be closer to the users, and so that being in this area makes more sense
Okay.
than being farther out.
All right, well, I don't want to hog all the questions. There's got to be some questions out here. Connie?
They're having a hard time hearing back here, so if people could speak up a little bit.
Use your outside voices.
Not here. The microphone is working wonderfully. It's just some of the people here listening.
Yeah.
It's soft-spoken.
Okay.
It's a little hard.
So, Mike?
Thank you. To your to the comment you made just a minute ago about the 4 solar projects that we approved, one of the comments that I made, and Jordan, you're here, and maybe this message could be directed and sent towards some of the developers that are out there, but there was a comment that I made in some of the developments, especially in our society today with the technology and everything that has come out. I mean, some of the roofing itself, there's the capability to do solar within the roofing of these new developments. And so, and with SRP, I think that's one thing that some of our developers and some of the builders themselves looking at some ways that they can integrate these 2 types of technologies in the industry as a whole, not only in the commercial side, but in the residential as well. And so I don't know if that's possible, capable, but what I kind of envision sometimes is that smart community that could be done for the future, and even we kind of lead some of that direction going as a county and as municipalities here within Pinal County.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's talk on the west side of building whole new cities. I believe one of the major social media people owns something huge over there, and how's that going to work? Do we really want that over here, or do we want just more of the good stuff like we're getting? So, are any other questions? And if you think of any, just buddy in. Here's Phil. And Phil, you're an engineer by trade, correct?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
My career was in industrial gas turbines. Actually, I've been in 46 foreign countries besides 49 states. Anyway, I've got some comments, and I know SRP is involved because I came down here to Arizona in '97 and overhauled a turbine at your Santan plant. One of the big concerns that I want you to talk about, and I am very grateful that you are now buying some additional gas turbines for the Coolidge station. I have a customer in Alaska that went from the industrial gas turbines, steam turbines, and bought all aeroderivative turbines. And these are a lot lighter. And when you talk about heavy industry, you cannot sustain frequency on your grid with solar and aeroderivative gas turbines. You have to have spinning mass in order to, for example, when a 2,000 horsepower motor kicks in, there's an inrush current that could lower your frequency and cause the whole grid to go down. So I am grateful that you're at least putting some gas turbines in, but I'm also very wary of the fact that you're getting rid of all of your coal-fired plants, your heavy mass turbines that maintain your frequency. And yes, I understand people are putting in battery systems and whatever. But APS put the word out that total green energy by 2050. And I was invited by Jeff, and I participated in the review of these 4 solar farm applications. And one of them, the one near the National Guard rifle range, came in with a very, very poor proposal. But I listened to all these people talk about their 350 megawatt solar fired or solar power plant and their battery systems. And I finally asked them, and there was 4 of them there, I finally asked them, well, you're in July and it's 112 degrees and you've got everything charged up and the sun goes down. how long are you going to be able to supply power to the grid? And all of them agreed the same comment, up to 4 hours. I then asked the other question, what are we supposed to do then? And the answer was, you should be in bed. How am I going to charge my Tesla car? How am I going to run the air conditioners? So it doesn't look good to me.
So there's no question in there, you're just saying we need more, we can't rely completely on solar.
I don't think so,
And Phil set off my OCD, 49 states. What state haven't you been to?
North Dakota.
Okay. Let's start a drive to get Phil to North Dakota. And we've been joined by,
Hi, my name's Neil Carter. I'm the recently appointed state representative for District 8. I was at a client meeting in Mesa, so I'm sorry I'm a little bit late, but
Okay.
I'm glad to be here. Thanks.
all right, nobody else has come, right? Any other questions or any responses to anything that you guys may have thought of?
I just want a quick response.
Loud.
I'll speak up louder. Very valid thoughts. And we have a lot of people internally thinking about that because it is a concern of how do you keep the power on through the night, right? So we are in the process. Solar and battery is a great solution, but it's not going to be the ultimate solution, right? And so there's a lot of additional analysis and thought going into what else we're going to need. We're actually going through our ISP process, so an integrated system planning process right now, and trying to figure out what exactly that looks like for the future to make sure that we can keep everything on and running and remain extremely reliable. And that's one of the biggest components, as you mentioned. So it's definitely something that we take very seriously, and there's a lot of people thinking about that. So afterwards, if we can just connect, I can make sure you get invited to the next ISP process.
All right, so I want to ask a type of question, and this is for the folks that are going to be watching this. Let's say we have 100 acres of homes or 100 acres of industrial. What is the difference of supplying water to 100 acres of homes or electric or vice versa? What takes more? What's easier? Is there different challenges with each?
So short answer is it depends. So we're very happy that there's a lot of industrial uses coming in. However, the water use and the infrastructure requirements for industrial can vary vastly based on the actual use. Between light warehouse or light industrial
Let's
warehousing.
say an Intel, for instance. Everybody knows of Intel.
Yeah, it could be if it's data centers and things like that may require cooling. May have large water demands for cooling purposes. Obviously, if you have a bottling manufacturer, someone like that would be a large water user. So we try to work with the appropriate county, municipality, and that particular end user to try to find the most economical solution there and the most kind of water conscious solution as well. And that ultimately, we're here to partner, like the other utilities with the counties and the cities there. We need to find that balance between bringing the jobs and the homes with making sure we are conservative with the water that we have available there. But it depends. I apologize for not getting a firm answer there.
Okay.
So.
How about this? We have different cities here, different companies. When I was mayor, I understand that Apache Junction Water has an interconnect with City of Mesa if we need it. Is it possible to merge sewer systems as well? Gold Canyon has a small one out there, and one of the things I said, and I think they're doing okay now, but they've struggled in the past. Is it possible that if a bigger treatment plant comes, can you interconnect and relieve the grid, kind of like electric, there's a grid where everybody's connected. Is it possible to do the same with water and sewer?
Absolutely. Devil's in the details there. That's where the engineers take over to make the systems connect and everything. But absolutely, there's flexibility there. There's the ability to have interconnects, whether they're on an emergency basis or a base load everyday scenario. We have plenty of solutions like that.
Agreed with that.
Yeah, totally agree with that. For example, right now, in our Santam system, we were stressed a little bit on some of the wastewater capacity that we had. We're building a new plant to more than handle our anticipated growth. But right now, we're for some of the peak flows that happen both either on a diurnal basis or a seasonal, we've interconnected now with Queen Creek, and then they can handle some of that ups and downs that where our capacity wasn't able to handle some of those flexibility. I think too, from a water demand side, one of the things that we've seen is statewide, people always ask how many people can we get in here and how many can we support. And when I was at the Department of Water Resources, one of the things that we went and did was we looked back in history about the total demands versus what we're doing today. And with all the conservation measures that go into place, all the efficiencies of new modern appliances, both from a power and from a water demand side, we're actually using less water in the state of Arizona today than we did in 1947. So
Wow, that's mind-boggling.
yeah, and
Yeah.
our population has exploded, our economic output has exploded. So it's that's the success story. We reuse nearly 100% of all wastewater that's generated. All the effluent either goes to landscaping or recharge or industrial cooling. We have some of our facilities. You mentioned the data centers on the west side, where we have an industrial user. We clean that water up, then that goes over to the data center to use for cooling. So we not only more efficient, but we reuse it over and over and over. One of the differences we've seen is near our Luke 303 out there by the Luke Air Force Base service area out there, where we have development that's dominated by residential growth. We see a steady increase in demand on the water side. It slowly increases as houses get built and occupied. The wastewater flows slowly increase. But what we see is when we have large industrial users is these big jumps. I mean, bang, the plant goes on and the demands go up, and then you get big slugs of wastewater demand. So from an engineering standpoint, construction scheduling standpoint, you've got to take that into account. You got to stay ahead of that. So that'll be one of the planning and engineering challenges between the two types of growth. But the engineers handle it. That's what they do.
So in the last 5 minutes, there's some real positive news there. As these communities grow together, the system gets better. It doesn't get worse because they can relieve each other. Now, worst case scenario, is there any chance that California and Nevada can drag us down because they're not managing as well as we are?
You mean I get to diss on California?
Yes. I say we shut the river off and divert it all down here.
I'd support that. Yeah, on one hand, if you look at what Arizona's done as far as water management, we are light years ahead of California. We are light years ahead of most states. We have to. It's a desert state. We have to do this water management. So we do that well. We continue that tradition. We work very well cooperatively within the state, sharing infrastructure where needed. And in fact, we're providing some backup supplies to some of your systems over in the West Valley too. So we do have this cooperative spirit in Arizona. The other, I want to say good news instead of just dissing on California, is they're finally seeing the light, and they're finally coming to the table and actually working on some of the drought shortage plans, providing money, providing lowater to kind of help all offset some of the impacts on the Colorado River. So the lower basin states have really stepped up, and we're doing a lot to bolster the water levels in Meade, and that's a really good success story as well. And I anticipate that just to move forward.
So there again, a lot of the negatives that we hear, somebody will watch a national story of the Colorado River and Lake Mead, and it's California. We're managed well. It's them. They're the ones that are scaring everybody over there.
Yeah, the Director of Water Resources shared a fun stat with folks just earlier this week, and all of the conservation efforts that the lower basin states have done so far, we have put over 15 feet of additional elevation at Lake Mead. So we would, if without all those efforts, we would already be in a tier 3 shortage. So there's a lot of work that's gone on and a lot of work that's continuing.
Okay. Anything to add? And any last questions?
In regards to water conservation and water resource management, across Pinal County, one of our larger economic drivers is agriculture. So as we start entering the tier 1 water shortages, obviously that's having a huge effect on the agriculture community. And then we start talking about building data centers or other manufacturing plants, whatever that might look like for jobs, which is fantastic. But how do we balance the fact that agriculture is slowly slipping away because of that water management, which causes us, or forces us rather, to outsource, farming and all of our food supplies, things like that, while bringing in jobs and ensuring that those opportunities also don't go away from an economical standpoint?
Yeah, that's a great question. The largest water user in the state of Arizona by far is agriculture. So that's the number one demand driver that we have. With the shortages that we're seeing, ag starting next year will start taking their first cuts. But at the same time, a lot of the cities, and including EPCOR, we participated in the DCP process. Some of the extra water that we haven't grown into yet, we're actually sending that to ag to offset over the next 6 years to help them transition away from the shortages that they're going to be experiencing. The other thing that doesn't hit the news that you should be aware of is those allocations of CAP water that the ag industry had were temporary. They were not a permanent allocation, and they were scheduled to go away by the end of the next 10 years anyway. This is just speeding that up. So again, in the spirit of internal cooperation in Arizona, there's a lot of the municipalities that have stepped up to the plate and been able to provide that water that they're not needing for their customers right now. So there's still elasticity in our system. Now, long range, there is going to be a challenge. As ag transitions out and development happens on those lands, the demand is going to go way down. There's going to be more recycled use. The reclaim gets reused. That doesn't happen in ag. But we also have, from just a kind of an overall economic, our food supply is going to be challenged now. How are we going to work through that? Arizona, the central part of the state, has some of the lowest dairy prices in the country because we've got all the dairies here in Pinal County, and that's a great benefit to everybody. How do we make sure that that carries forward? And as a water manager, one of the things long range that I get worried about is one of the things I like to do is store water for times of shortage. So we've stored millions of gallons of water in the state of Arizona, in fact, enough to support the demands of the city of Phoenix for over 30 years. So cheapest and easiest way to do that is store it with the irrigation districts, store it with the farmers. If that starts to go away, I'm going to have to start looking for actual physical sites, either injection wells or recharge basins, and so that makes it a lot more difficult. So we're going to have to include that as part of the planning as well, because that takes up acreage. So there's pluses and minuses, but we're all working toward the same goal as trying to maintain a sustainable society in the long run.
All right, I don't know about you folks, but I'm way smarter than I was 30 minutes ago. And hopefully this answers allays a lot of the fears of the folks out there that get to see this, that we are going to be okay with water. And so we're going to transition, and I want to thank you guys. Very informative.